This could so easily have been where it all ended. My wife Anna and I were on our way back to New York from the Bahamas. We'd spent 10 days at the Ocean Club on our honeymoon, and it was time to get back to work, or the coffee cup, as we say in the Carter household. I'm not what you would call the most relaxed flyer, and I tend to get to airports early because I don't want to compound the stress by having to rush to the gate. At the airport, while I fretted about the flight ahead, Anna's cell phone rang. I didn't have a mobile back then, and calling Anna's was the only way my kids or the office could get in touch with me. In those days, I never left the house without a few quarters in my pocket for payphones, along with a handkerchief. More about that later. Anna answered the call and handed me the phone. She whispered the words, "David, friend." David, one of my deputies at Vanity Fair, where I'd been editor for more than a decade, was indeed on the line. In the euphoria of marriage and honeymoon and all that, it had utterly slipped my mind that at 10:30 that morning, Vanity Fair had released an article we'd been working on for the past 2 years. It revealed the identity of Deep Throat, the highly secretive source Bob Woodward relied on during his Watergate reporting with Carl Bernstein. As the Post itself had noted, the identity of Deep Throat was, quote, among the most compelling questions of modern American history, dissected in books and films, on the internet, and in thousands of articles and hundreds of television programs. 2 years of work and worry over a major story, at the time the holy grail of journalism scoops, and here I was, stuck on the day of its release, in the tiny departure lounge of Nassau International Airport. I mouthed the words, "Holy fuck," to Anna. She mouthed back, "What?" David reminded me that as we'd planned before my departure, he had called both Bob and Carl that morning at around 9:30 to tell them we were faxing them advance copies of our story naming Mark Felt, the former deputy director of the FBI, as Deep Throat. I asked what their reaction had been. David said they had thus far made no comment, but the word was trickling out and the phone lines at Vanity Fair were already jammed. A more confident editor would probably have been elated at the news. I am not made of such vibrant stuff. My foremost worry was one that I'd had the whole time we were working on the article, that we had somehow gotten it wrong. The fact of the matter was we weren't 100% sure we had the right man. A mistake of such magnitude becomes the stuff of legend and winds up in the first paragraph of your obituary. Also, this was a rough period for journalists. It was during the George W. Bush administration, and if you got something wrong, armies of righteous nitpickers on the right and the left would descend to lay waste to your career and possibly your livelihood. Our main worry was that there was, in fact, no Deep Throat. That had been a journalistic device, a composite of several sources, perhaps ginned up, some even said, by Alice Mayhew, who was Woodward and Bernstein's editor at Simon & Schuster, to move the plot along in All the President's Men. I never bought into that rumor. Alice was the preeminent nonfiction editor of political books in the nation, and an above-board and formidable person in every way. I had played tennis with her as a doubles partner a few times out on Long Island, and whenever I missed a shot, she wouldn't say a word. She'd just give me a look that could have de-strung a racket on the other side of the court. 10 days earlier, Anna and I had stood at the altar of a small Episcopalian church, a short walk from our home in Connecticut, about to get married. It was, as it is for so many grooms, aside from the birth of my children, one of the happiest days of my life. I felt incredibly fortunate to be marrying this smart, beautiful woman before my kids and our relatives and friends. There were a number of hymns, including Jerusalem, which I was told later had confused a number of our Jewish friends who were surprised to hear a hymn with that name in an Episcopalian service.